Hey everyone, Andrew Morgan here with my good friend James Riley of J&R Networks. We're going to be talking a little about Appgate and Zero Trust. James, for those that don't know you, can you give them a quick overview of yourself and who J&R is?
Sure. I'm James Riley. I've been in the IT field for somewhere around 30 years. I guess I'm getting old now. Um, I'm the CEO of JNR Networks. I say I'm a recovering engineer because I've done it all from frontline, crawling under desks, running cable to senior engineering, now running the business. We are a pure play MSP, do a lot of focus on compliance clients, whether that's HIPAA, PCI, NIST/CMMC, those kinds of worlds.
Cool. So James, we were talking, you and I, that, I just like you said, you work with companies that have highly sensitive data. We won't go into all the use cases today to keep this narrow and quick. But let's focus on the defense industrial base for a second. For companies handling CUI, we know, we want to ensure the network layer is highly secure. And that would mean if ideally, in money, no object, right, you'd be setting up things like EATLS, EAPTLS on wireless technologies and things that add a lot of cost, right, to an SMB. So what was it about Appgate that appealed to you when you looked at the construct of having to set up things like that?
So when you talk about something, we'll just grab on the APTLS, for example, it's not just that you have to turn that on or that you should, it's that it has to be a certain kind, it has to be validated. And the language, the NIST controls 3.13.11, and I'm reading it here just so you have it. It specifically says employ FIPS validated cryptography when used to protect the confidentiality of CUI. And so you don't just have to turn on the technology, it has to be technology that's been validated. And the list of companies that have done that is pretty small. And so, as an MSP, as much as we want to normalize and standardize on solutions, that becomes the problem because now all of a sudden we have to consider other hardware stacks for switches, firewalls, wireless, that kind of stuff, just to make all that work. Um, that's where we found that Appgate can come in and really help us create that, provide that encryption layer over the top. And then we still care about securing the network, but we don't have to rely on the network per se to create the compliant encryption that we have to have.
Makes a lot of sense. And, James, you also use the term, it's like a multifunctional. That's one of the other things that appealed to you about Appgate. Can you give us a sense of what you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the client. So some clients, we've got a really good secure network architecture. We can secure physical ports, the facility's secure. They don't have guest access areas, different things. And so we can have good secure infrastructures and we're building it from the ground up, that kind of thing. That's great. But at other times we just can't. And so we can go as far as setting their servers, if they've got on-prem servers or whatever, we can set those off in like a secure room. And the only way in and out of it logically is through an Appgate device. And at that point, whether you're on premise or you're out over the internet or wherever you are, you're really like a remote user, and Appgate's the one providing the encryption layer. So you still want to worry about physical security, and there's NIST controls and CMMC controls you have to do that, but you don't have to worry quite as much or in the same way because you're able to provide this other layer of encryption that secures and brings you in. Um, yeah, so you don't have to focus as much on the other areas.
Yeah. How about closing us out with, I think a lot of people, when they think about really good zero trust models, right? ZTNA, software defined perimeters, they're like, those are expensive. That's where the enterprise plays. They're, what's been your findings so far?
Um, First of all, typically it's very poorly defined by a lot of people. Appgate's doing a really good job with that. The other thing we found is that it takes clients have to mature into that world. You can deploy it, but if the client's not ready, you're going to create your own DDoS attack because you're just going to blow things up. And so with something like Appgate, what we found is that we can progress into something. We can start with a certain layer of security, almost make it transparent to the user, And then over time, as the client matures, as their needs mature and their awareness matures, we can turn up the heat. We can go into more conditional access. We can get into other layers. And Appgate can really start at the beginning and really mature along the way with the client.
That's awesome. James, always great to see you. And for those of you that haven't maybe heard you speak at some of the security events, if you see James on the circuit, I would highly encourage you to go into that session. You'll learn a lot. And James, and until next time, it was awesome seeing you as always.
Thanks. Good to see you.